Hello everyone, Sadly here and welcome back to another Bedrock Edition tutorial. Today I'll be showing you how to build an elite level guardian farm for Minecraft Bedrock Edition. This is basically the best guardian farm that I can come up with. It is fully featured and fully customizable. You can use it in any way that you want. You can build it any size that you want. It works on any world and it just has a ton of great features to it that I'll get into in a moment. The key features is that it produces an absolute ton of items and it produces a ton of experience as well. It might look like this big, complicated mess of redstone, but honestly, it is a really easy farm to build once you get into it, so bear with me. This is a hybrid guardian farm, so it comes with two modes. Overworld only, where all the loot and experience is delivered directly to you, and you can AFK for as long as you want. This is ideal for servers and multiplayers, realms, literally whatever you want to do, or wherever you want to build it. And then mode number 2 is the Nether only mode. This is the ultra fast instant farm that gives you maximum rates and maximum experience. This mode is best used for 2 players. You can see the rates for the overworld only mode on screen right now. Keep in mind it takes about 20 seconds for the first items and experience to reach the player due to Bedrock Edition being how it is. So technically you get level 30 within 40 seconds of running the farm. This farm also applies the looting 3 effect to every guardian that it kills, so you get 51,900 items per hour if you don't count any of the fish, and if you do count the fish drops, then you get nearly 70,000 items per hour using this farm in overworld only mode. Just a side note, if you smelt down all of the fish in a furnace, it's actually a really good food source, and it's great for some side experience as well. It's one of the best things to smelt down for experience. The Nether only rates are very fast. You get 200 guardians in 25 to 30 seconds. This is ideal if you have 2 players using the farm at one time. One person AFKs in the overworld, and the other person just rakes in the experience in the Nether by killing them all. If you're doing this by yourself, I would not recommend AFKing for longer than like 2 to 3 minutes because guardians are extremely laggy when you have about 1,000 of them. Using the Nether only mode, you can get to level 34 in about 30 seconds. As you might know, I have a couple other guardian farm tutorials, but this one is better than all of the other ones. I specifically designed it to be so. So let's talk about a couple of the improvements over my previous designs and the other guardian farms that you might be looking at building. This guardian farm can be turned completely off with the flick of 1 or 2 levers. So in its off state, it's completely lagless basically. No guardians can spawn in the top chamber or down below. We completely remove the water sources. That way there's no guardian sitting in the area or taking up the mob cap. There's 3 improvements to the Trident Killer on this design. We are using a slower clock which kills the guardians at the same exact speed, but it causes less lag in your world. It's also an easy to access Trident Killer, so you can walk in here and pick up the tridents anytime you want. This is ideal for a multiplayer server, and these tridents also will not fall down. Because the tridents are not extended when the farm is off, it is less likely that the tridents will fall into the cell or fall into the ocean below the farm. We're also using 2 tridents, which increases the killing speed, increasing our rates. However, if you want to, you can use just a single trident on that block, and then just replace that with a piece of redstone, and bam, you saved yourself, 24 tridents. Unlike previous designs, this farm has super easy access to the water dispenser. This is the water that the guardians will actually spawn in when the farm is on. Now, if the game crashes while you're using the farm, or if you turn it on and off like 20 times a second, then sometimes these cells can desync so that some are off and some are on, but it's super easy to fix that with this design because you can just put a button around here. The farm should never break like this unless there is some weird circumstances, but it is easy to fix if it does ever break. When it's in overworld only mode, all the guardians spawn in the overworld and they're immediately killed by the double or single Trident Killer. All of the items and experience go into the water streams and they are directly delivered to the player at the AFK spot. You don't need to move or do anything at all besides hold a looting 3 sword. A mild change, but previous designs had this redstone line a block lower so that you couldn't actually, walk through this area. I decided to raise that up a block so now you can actually walk around your farm. Another mild change, but we have pillars of blocks underneath every spawn spot so that we are forcing the guardians to only spawn inside of the farm. Sometimes the guardians would spawn underneath this platform in other designs, and that would severely destroy your rates or just stop your farm from spawning guardians entirely. This farm is designed for a simulation distance of 4 or above, so that means that we're not using the central spawning spot and we don't have a cell right there. Because mobs can only spawn within 44 blocks of the player on a simulation distance of 4, if you want them to spawn in the very corners of the ocean monument, then the center spawning spot is not spawnable if you build it at this layer. You could build a killing cell right here if you wanted to, but it would need to be down below the water, like 6 or 7 blocks down, and that's optional. You can install that if you want. It'll increase your rates by 1/25. You can also build this guardian farm without the nether portals in case you don't want to build a nether side farm, and in fact the farm gets significantly cheaper and even easier to build if you don't include the nether portals or the top redstone line and redstone. You also don't need to build the farm this large if you don't want to. This is a full-scale farm with 24 spawning spots. However, you could cut it down and just use 9 spawning spots if you wanted to. It'd be significantly cheaper and easier to build that way, and you wouldn't need to invest as much time. It also wouldn't be as laggy, and it would be much quicker to build. Not much has really changed in the nether besides having 3 layers of lava instead of 2, and this makes all of your guardians a one-hit kill. Once you wait 30 seconds, you'll have a kill chamber full of 200 guardians. You can use a standard harming potion, throw it right there, and that'll kill all 200 guardians at once. You'll get all of the experience, and all of the items will go into storage for you. If you have another player AFKing in the overworld, as you can see, you get a brand new flood of guardians basically instantly, and it's so satisfying to listen to. So yeah, you can basically just stand here on a little timer that gives you a potion every 30 seconds, and bam, you get just thousands and thousands of experience. In case there's ever too much lag for you in the nether, you can always press this button and that will kill all of your guardians with a lava blade instantly, and that'll basically get rid of all of your lag for you. You can also install a phantom shield above your AFK spot. That way you never need to worry about phantoms while you're using the farm. And of course, you can also bring the on and off switches for the farm up to the AFK platform. That way it's super easy to use. And let's hop into the tutorial, shall we? For your convenience, there is a full materials list down in the description of the video, and there's a world download on my website, silentwhisperer.com, so you can download this world and check out the farm before building it in survival. The first thing that you need to do is find yourself an ocean monument. You can pick pretty much any ocean monument. They're all going to work the same. I would avoid one that's in a cold biome, so if there's an iceberg above it, just skip it. You don't want to mess with freezing water because that is just a pain to work around. Keep in mind that the direction that your ocean monument is facing has no impact on anything whatsoever. The direction of your ocean monument does not matter, so just completely ignore it. If you're playing on a simulation distance of 4, you can have your ocean monument be next to islands or land. It doesn't matter. Mobs won't be able to spawn there. However, if you're playing on a sim distance of 6 or above, you're going to want to find an ocean monument that is surrounded by more water. That way you don't need to spawn proof any bits of land. Once you find a good monument, go to every corner of the ocean monument and go out by a block and pillar up with a pillar of sand all the way to the surface of the water, and do that on all 4 sides. And now we're going to build up some walls between all of these pillars. So it's going to be going from the surface layer of the water down by 3 blocks, so 4 in total. And of course you need to fill in these walls between all of the pillars. You can build this out of glass blocks or whatever else you want. Once all of your walls are in place, we need to go on the inside corner and start installing the floor. The floor is going to be at this layer right here, and you need to build this out of solid blocks. You can use cobblestone, stone, pretty much anything that you want as long as it's not slabs or anything like that. That's what it should look like once you have the floor in place, and now we need to start draining out this water. So we're going to build up some walls of sand on every 4th block all the way to the surface, and then basically just build that along like so, and then once you have these walls built up, you can essentially just spam down some sponges in here. If you have raided your ocean monument, hopefully you'll have a couple of sponges. If not, then you'll need to go get some. But yeah, you basically just place them down in here on the corners and on the sides, and that will remove all the water fairly easily for you. Now that we have all of this done, we need to find our spawning spots. There are only 25 spots in the entire Bedrock ocean monument where guardians will spawn, and they spawn in a regular and consistent pattern. So grab yourself a locator map and find your icon. You can do that by spinning around. If you face towards the top of the map, that is always going to be north. So we're going to go to the upper left corner of the farm, which is the northwest corner. Once you're at the northwest corner of your farm, you need to grab yourself some counting blocks and some marking blocks. So we're going to get 3 counting blocks and go in by 3 blocks from our corner right here. And this block right here is going to be our first spawning spot. So guardians will be able to spawn right here. So once you have that marked out, we need to go down by 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then on the 11th block, that is your next spawning spot. And then we're going to go to the right by another 10 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then on the 11th is your next block. So mark that out. And then it's good to know that all of these spawning spots are actually lined up with another. So they are in a grid. However, the grid is not evenly spaced. So keep that in mind. So we have 4 of our spawning spots marked out right here, and on screen right now you can see the entire grid of the spawning spots. So those numbers are the blocks in between the spawning spaces. So if it says 10, that is 10 blocks in between the spawning spots. Hopefully this makes sense to you. You need to mark out all of these in your Minecraft world. And this is pretty much what your grid should look like once you have it finished. Make sure that all of it is counted out correctly and triple check everything. If you mess this part up, it's going to cause you a lot of issues later on down the line. You can go ahead and remove all of your counting blocks. We just need to keep all of the marker blocks in place. That way we know exactly where our spawn spots are. Now, I would recommend going underneath each one of your spawning spots and digging all the way down through the ocean monument until you hit stone or whatever, and just filling that in with a column of solid blocks. This way no guardians can spawn underneath your platform and they can never give you any issues with the farm going forwards. So do that for all 25 spots. You can use any block that you like. Keep in mind that everything I do with this farm, I'm going to be facing north. That is our default direction, is north. So just keep that in mind for the rest of the video. And of course that is facing the top of the locator map. So the first thing that we're going to do is install all of our water streams. These will deliver all the items and experience to the player. And we're going to start at the very middle of the farm and bring this little marker block down into the platform, go over by 2 blocks, and then you want to break out 4 blocks right here and install packed ice underneath all of that. On the 5th block, you want a piece of soul sand underneath that one, and this is going to be the bubble column that goes up to your AFK spot. We're going to be using a lot of packed ice in this build. You can use blue ice if you want, but it's completely pointless, so don't bother. For the main north-south water stream, we're going to break out all of these solid blocks right here until there's only 2 blocks left on the north, and then do that same exact thing on the southern side. Break all these out until there's only 2 left, and then just install a layer of packed ice right here, and this goes all the way towards the top of the build. So that is the main north-south water stream installed. Go back to your central point, and we need to go to the north by 5 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Break this out, and we're going to build an ice stream going in this direction by 25 blocks, starting right here on block number 1. And then we need another ice stream going in this direction by 17 blocks, starting right here on block number 1. So break out all these blocks and get both of those installed. And that is your main east-west waterway installed. And now for the secondary north-south water streams, we're going to go over to this side of the farm and basically break out this entire line of blocks to the north until it is lined up with the first line of blocks that we broke out. Of course, to fill in your entire packed ice waterway until it reaches to that point, and then break out all of these blocks going to this edge of the farm until it's lined up with that water stream. Fill in your packed ice, and then do the same exact thing on this side as well. Break out all of these blocks until it's lined up with that one. Fill in your packed ice, and then do it on this edge over here as well. And that is all of your ice streams installed. These water streams are going to be taking the items and experience from your killing cells and delivering them to the AFK player. Now keep in mind that there are 2 different types of killing cells in this farm. There is the orange right-handed cells, which send out the items to the right, and then there is the green left-handed cells, which send out the items to the left. We do this kind of design, that way way it cuts down on the amount of water streams and the amount of redstone and lag that you need in your farm. So all of the blocks that are marked out in orange are going to be right-handed, and all of the ones that are marked out in green are going to be left-handed. In total, you need 14 of the right-hand cells and 10 of the left-hand cells, so it might be worth memorizing how to build these. Definitely pay attention for the next couple minutes of the tutorial, because if you build one of these wrong, chances are you're going to build all of them wrong, so just make sure you do it right the first time around. To build the right-hand cell design, you need to go to your spawning spot and face north. We're going to install a nether portal at this location right here, so 3 obsidian up on either side, and then the obsidian roof on top of it. The top of your nether portal should be lined up with the top of your wall, or the ocean level. Directly underneath your spawning spot, we're going to break out all the blocks going until we hit the water stream, fill in all of the packed ice in these areas, and then on the third block, you want to put in an iron trapdoor or any other type of trapdoor. Turn around and place in a dispenser facing forwards, skip a block to the left and place an observer facing into that block, and now we need to go down and place an observer facing upwards like so. Fill in that piece of packed ice right there. We now need ourselves a solid block right there with a redstone torch on it, a piece of glass right there, and then 2 pieces of redstone dust going up. Grab yourself a couple of slabs and bring those across right here. You want a repeater right here on 1 tick, a piece of redstone dust, a solid block, 2 redstone torches right there, a solid block on that one, and then a repeater right here on 2 ticks, and that should create the clock for your Trident Killer. To turn that off, we're going to place in a temporary lever right here, just so it's not activating as you're building the rest of the farm. Now we want 2 pieces of glass to either side of that spawning block like so. Place in a sticky piston to the left right there, an upper slab right there, and then 2 pieces of glass below that piston. Turn around and we want 2 regular pistons right here, a solid block right there, and then a piece of redstone dust like so. We're going to go ahead and light this nether portal, remove your marker block right here, and place in a piece of water. We're then going to go ahead and put in a solid block right there, and then we want a solid block behind that piston, a solid block up, and then another solid block right here. We're going to place in a temporary lever next to the repeater and power that. That way no guardians go to the nether as you're building the rest of the farm. So that is the entirety of your right side cell. You need to build these at every location that I've marked with an orange block. And this is pretty much what it should look like once you have all of your right hand cells installed. You'll notice during the build process that not all of these cells are lined up as you might expect with the water streams, and that is because, again, this grid of spawning spaces is not perfectly spaced. It destroys OCD, and it's kind of annoying that it's not equally spaced, but it is what it is. So you can kind of see how I've built that so far. Just make sure that everything is about as I've shown it. Make sure it's all lined up with one another, and make sure that all the cells are oriented correctly, and you shouldn't have any problems. To build your left-hand cells, we're going to pick a left-hand spawning spot, go behind it, and install the nether portal. That's going to be 3 obsidian up on either side, and the top of this nether portal should be lined up with your wall or with the ocean level. Directly underneath the spawning spot, we're going to break out all the blocks going to the left until we hit the water stream, install packed ice in all of these areas, and then on the third block, install an iron trapdoor or any other trapdoor. Turn around and we're going to install a dispenser right here, skip a block to the right and place an observer facing towards that block, break out this block right here, and then place an observer facing upwards like so. Patch up that hole in the ground, place in a solid block right here, a redstone torch above that observer, a piece of glass, 2 pieces of redstone right here. Now we're going to place in 2 upper slabs right here, a repeater on 1 tick, a piece of redstone dust right there, and then a solid block right there with redstone torches on either side of it. Place in a solid block above that one and a solid block above there, a repeater right here on 2 ticks, and that should start clocking. We're going to go down here and place in a piece of glass above our water stream, and then a temporary lever on that just to turn it off. Now place a piece of glass to either side of the spawning spot, and then on this side, we're going to place in a sticky piston facing towards the right with an upper slab in front of it. Place in yourself 2 pieces of glass directly underneath that sticky piston. And now turn around and you want to have yourself in 2 regular pistons right here. Place in yourself a solid block on that one and a piece of redstone dust on that one like so. And now we're going to go ahead and light this nether portal. Break out your little marker block right there and replace that with a piece of water. Put in a solid block above that, and then we want ourselves a solid block right here, a solid block going up, and then a solid block above that piece of redstone. Grab yourself another temporary lever and power that sticky piston. That way nothing spawns as you're building the farm, and you don't flood your nether with guardians. So that is the left-hand killing cell. You need to build 10 of these in total at every location I've marked with a green block. And this is what the farm should look like once you have all the left-hand and right-hand cells installed. As you might have noticed, the left-hand cells are not perfectly lined up with the water streams. Again, it is a unevenly spaced grid of spawning spaces. So as you can see, you don't really need to do much special. Just build them in place, make sure they are lined up with every other cell in the grid, and you'll be good to go more or less. Now it's time to install all the water streams to push all of our items to the center of the farm. So we're going to start at the very center of the farm and work our way out. So we're going to start at this block right here, go 3 blocks to the left of it and place in a button, and then 3 blocks to the right of it and place in a button, and then 1 more button right there in front of that soul sand. Place in a water source in this little nook right here, 1 in front of that button and 1 in front of that button, and that should push all the items that you throw in here directly into this soul sand, and that'll take it up to the AFK spot. The water streams are basically the same for the entirety of the farm, so I'll walk you through some of it and then you should be able to figure out the rest. So starting at the southern 2 cells right here, we're going to place in a water source next to that trapdoor, let that flow all the way, and then place in a button right here. Place in a water source right there and a water source in front of that trapdoor, and that's going to keep on flowing all the way until, it reaches this area. Put a button right there, 1 more water source, and that's the entire south side connected. For the northern section, we're going to go all the way to the far end over here. Place in a water source right there, let that flow to the end. Place in a button, skip 2 blocks, water source there and water source there. Let that flow all the way. Button right there and a button right there, and then a water source right there. For this middle intersection, you want to skip 3 blocks to the left and then a button, and then do the same thing on the other side as well, and then place in your water source there and your water source there, and that'll flush everything to the middle nice and neat. And this is what the water streams for the middle part of the farm look like. When it comes to making these water streams, you want to make sure there's no parts where it flows backwards or where there is water that stands still. If you have any sections where the water isn't moving or it's standing still, then you're going to have a massive buildup of items and experience, and that's going to get very laggy. So just watch out for that. Otherwise, you can't really mess up these water streams. This is what the water streams for the left side of the farm should look like. And this is what the water streams for the right side of the farm should look like as well. That's the majority of the water streams done, and now you just need to connect together the 3 sections, and you probably guessed how to do that. Nothing too exciting, just basic old water streams. You can't really go wrong, so if yours looks slightly different from mine, that's fine. And this is how I set up all of my water streams, and this will deliver all the items to the very center of the farm for you. Now that you have all the water streams installed, you need to go around basically all of them and cover up every piece of water with a piece of glass. It doesn't need to be glass. You could use solid blocks if you wanted to. However, it's nice to have glass so that way you can see the items and experience in there and identify any problems that might exist. And of course, you also need to place glass in these areas of your cells as well. Connect that up with the 2 pieces of glass that are in front of your pistons. So every bit of all of the waterways should be covered in glass. Once you've covered all the water streams in glass, we're going to go to the very center of the farm over here, and we're going to skip 3 blocks. On this 4th block right here, place in a lever. This is going to be the central power point for the entirety of the farm. So from here, just grab yourself a redstone line and run it as far as you can until it runs out of signal, and then you can basically start removing these temporary levers along the way. So you should get it to about here. As you can see, this is the dead redstone signal, and that's not powered anymore. So place a block there, a repeater on the other side of it, and then a solid block right there, and then just continue on. So that is the south side powered. For the north side, it's going to be a slightly different. We're going to run this along until we reach the kind of cross section here, and then we're going to put a solid block right in the middle of that cross section, and then a repeater powering it like so, and then continue this as far as you can towards the end over here until it runs out of signal. Once that happens, put in your 2 solid blocks and your repeater, and then just keep on running that into the cell. So using this basic methodology, you can run redstone above all of your glass throughout the entirety of the farm. Whenever you get to a 3-way intersection, put a block in the middle, and that's basically all there is to it. Now for this one, we need another repeating section right here, and that's fine. So yeah, just do the same little methodology going all throughout the farm, and make sure that all of your lower Trident Killers get powered. So for the left side over here, what you would do is just run this up, replace that lever, and then you just place a piece of redstone dust going down right there as well to connect that up. It goes on the floor. It looks a little bit weird, but it's fine. Don't worry about it. Now, when the redstone runs out of signal strength, it should be lined up with the original repeating section that we put in the middle, and that gives the farm a little bit of symmetry and just kind of tells you that you're on the right track with this redstone line. And that is the upper left section of the farm done, so that should be all you need to know to wire up the rest of the farm, really. It's super straightforward. And this is what your redstone line should look like once you have the entire lower section of the farm powered. It is just a redstone line. You can't really mess it up, so if it looks slightly different, don't worry about it. As long as it powers everything and turns off all the Trident Killers, you're good to go. So now that it's all powered, we're going to go ahead and unflick this lever, and I would recommend checking every single one of your cells. They should all be turned on now, and if you just look at them and the redstone's flashing, then you know it works. It looks like every cell in our farm is properly functioning, so that is good. We can go ahead and turn off the entire farm with this lever. Now we need to build this exact redstone line, but just a couple blocks higher up. So we're going to place the 2 blocks above that lever, and this redstone line is going to be built out of lower half slabs. So it's basically going to be exactly the same as our lower redstone line. It's going to be going to all of these same places. So run this all the way along, and then we're going to have our lever right here in the middle. Run your redstone line exactly in the same places, and then you need repeating stations in the same exact places as well, and that should all be lined up. So anywhere that you have a water stream with redstone above it, you also need to run this slab line. I would highly recommend building it at this height. That way you can actually like walk through here, because it's super convenient to be able to walk through it. And then once you get to these cells, you basically just need to have a solid block, and then that is going to be running down into the piston. And that piston needs to be powered in order for the guardians to not spawn. So if we flick this lever, as you can see, that is going to extend there, and then we can run this into the next one over here, and that is all there is to it, basically. If your redstone looks like this, and your upper redstone line is canoodling with your lower redstone line, all you need to do is place a block right here, and that will separate those 2 redstone lines. And this is what the upper redstone line should look like when it's installed. Again, it's just a redstone line. It doesn't need to be built exactly as I've shown it here, but you absolutely need to make sure that every single one of the top pistons is powered. If these top pistons are not powered, then you're going to have a flood of guardians in your nether, so make sure that they are powered. And now to build the AFK spot, we're going to go to the very center spawning spot of the farm and pillar all the way up to Y level 81. So this is Y level 81, and this is going to be the AFK spot for your entire build. We're now going to build a bubble column going up to this level, so just build up a glass on all 4 sides of this, all the way up to Y level 81, and then of course fill that up with water. So make sure there's a water source at every level of this bubble column, otherwise it of course will not work, and you can also go ahead and remove this entire pillar of blocks that you used to get up there. To build a temporary storage system, extend your AFK platform over to the bubble column and extend your bubble column up by a block. We're going to install 2 double chests right here that are side by side, a whole line of hoppers going into the back of them, on the top of them, and then into the back of those hoppers. That is going to be 4 times loading speed for each of those double chests. Go ahead and get another line of glass blocks right here to the left and to the right, 1 extra block right here with a button on it, and then 1 additional block right here above that, and place in 1 final water source. that is going to push all of the items into your storage system. This will fill up in less than 10 minutes, like completely full, and all of the experience will be delivered to the player right here. Now put a tiny little roof above this build, just directly above the AFK platform. This way, no phantoms spawn, so it needs to be built out of solid blocks, and then you want some slabs on top of that. That way nothing spawns on top of there, and that will prevent you from getting phantoms in your farm. If you want to install an on-off switch at the AFK platform, all you need to do is extend it to the right a little bit, and then we install a couple of levers on some blocks, and then there is a sticky piston underneath them. 11 slime blocks down from there, a redstone block, and then another sticky piston, and of course one of these goes to the top redstone line, and one of these goes to the bottom redstone line. So what happens is anytime you flick this lever, that is going to turn on your overworld Trident Killers, as you can see, and then anytime you flick this lever, that is going to turn on the Nether killing part of the farm, and of course that'll also turn on the redstone lamps, which are optional. And now it's time to build the Nether part of the farm, so go to the very center spawning spot of your entire farm and get your coordinates. You need to divide these coordinates by 8 and then build a Nether portal at that location in the Nether. If you don't know how to link Nether portals, check out the tutorial in the upper right. You can install your Nether portal at any height that you want to in the Nether. Just make sure you got like 20 or so blocks underneath of it to work with. On the back side of the portal, you need to put a wall, that way none of the guardians spill out of that side, because that would be a bad thing. On the front side of it, you need to build a 2x2 of glass blocks going down 14 blocks, counting from the bottom layer of the portal. This is 1, 2, 3, and then all the way down to 14. At the bottom here, you're going to install some lower slabs. At the top of the tube, you need to put some signs down at the 4th layer, and then we need 3 layers of lava above this. So 1 lava source in the corner, 1 lava source in that corner, and you are good to go. Box this in with a 3 tall wall on all sides, and then put a roof on top of it as well. Now for some simple storage down here at the bottom, come to the left side and install a double chest right here. Hoppers into the back of it, hoppers into the top of it, and hoppers into those hoppers right there, and then do the same thing on the other side as well. Once you have both your double chests installed, you now want to build yourself a little walkway running up to this thing. We're going to place in 2 more hoppers right here, break out these 2 glass blocks, put in 2 trapdoors right there, and then we want ourselves 2 more trapdoors in these locations and a couple of redstone blocks above them. I would recommend using iron trapdoors, that way you can't flick these manually, and especially for these top ones, that way the guardians never escape. If you use regular trapdoors, you're gonna have a bad time. You need to stand about 3 blocks away, right between these 2 blocks, aim directly underneath those iron trapdoors, and then when you throw your potions, that'll land right in the middle of the kill chamber and kill all of the guardians in 1 hit. You only need level 1 harming potions, you do not need level 2. And I would highly recommend breaking out this block, putting in a dispenser, and then a lava bucket. That way you have an emergency kill switch in case there are too many guardians. That's the entire Nether kill chamber. I would highly recommend that you upgrade the storage system because you're going to be getting a lot of items, especially if you do this with 2 players. Now for the final touches in the overworld, you want to go around to each one of the kill chambers and throw in an Impaling 3 Trident. Impaling 3 is going to kill the guardians in 2 hits. You can use Impaling 3, 4, or 5, it doesn't matter, but you need at least Impaling 3 in order to get the best rates, and you can get a lot of Impaling books from librarian villagers. So you want to throw one in right there, and another one in right there. 2 tridents is the optimal way of using the farm, but if you feel like only using 1 trident, it's an easy modification. Remove that piston, remove that block, and then put a block and redstone dust right there. Using 1 trident will make the farm produce less experience and less drops. Also put a water bucket inside of this dispenser right here, and maybe put a button next to it for manually resetting the farm. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, then of course let me know in the comment section down below. I'm always trying to help you guys out as best as I possibly can. If you enjoyed today's video, then drop a like as it helps out the video and the channel a ton. And if you're new here, then maybe subscribe so you don't miss future ones. Thank you all so very much for 500,000. I'll see you guys down in the comment section and in the next one. And then there was silence.